Hello everyone, Oregon Moto John here. I'm excited to do a TuBliss install today. As you may have seen the previous video, I'm a tried and true heavy duty tube guy, and I run them on, if I get a new bike, it's the first thing that I put in, especially when I upgrade the tires. So I'm a believer in heavy duty tubes. However, this will be my third wheel and tire I've done with TuBliss. I haven't ridden yet with it. I'm excited to do that. I'll do a review of that, so that might be interesting. A guy coming from tubes, what he thinks of TuBliss. And so what we have here, we have our kit. We're doing a front wheel today for the purpose of the video. The back would be the same, but I'm going to focus on the front. You need armor all, protectant. You need a valve stem remover. A bike pipe pump is helpful because you put the inner chamber, the small tube that helps seal against the inner bead of the tire. This goes up to 100 to 120 psi, so a bike pump works great for that. So have that. With the kit comes rim tape, this inner tuber bladder as they call it, and then this device here that will seal out against the inner part of the motorcycle tire. You obviously need a wheel and a tire. And so the first step is going to be, we're going to clean this rim with some soap and water, or I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol sprayed on a rag. And this is my third install, so the fact that my first two went so well, it's really not bad. This also comes with the kit. This comes in here. This helps you drop your wheel inside your tire. I like to use some tire irons. They say that you don't have to, but for getting this inside the wheel, around the rim, but I do use it a little bit. And then of course getting your tire on, these are helpful. So new tire irons, and a drill bit. You do need a 7/16 or 11 millimeter drill bit. If you don't have one, get one, because you have to drill out one of your rim locks for this rim lock here. So you just have to do that. So, but that'll be one of the first things. Okay, so the first step is we have to drill out one of our rim locks. They say you can go either direction, 4 spokes away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, I already have a hole for an existing hole, so I'm going to use that one. I'm using an 11 millimeter or 7/16 drill. So the first step is to drill out a rim lock either direction from your valve stem, and you go 4 spokes over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I already have one here. Or you could go the other direction. So here we go. We're going to roll that out. Rufus thinks this is pretty interesting. And this is an 11 millimeter or 7/16 drill bit. You can start with a smaller one and work your way up, but this seems to have worked well on my other ones. If I was drilling a new hole, I would start small and work my way up through some drill bits. Okay, there we are. So we'll go ahead and clean this up with some sandpaper. Okay, so now we're just going to take a little sandpaper and clean up around this this hole here, so there aren't any sharp edges. You could also, I've used a round small file on that, it worked pretty good. So we're just going to clean that up. Going to flip it over and get any burrs off of there. Just kind of like that. And we can work on that some more. Just clean up any sharp edges. So I've got a little bit of an edge here. I just take a round file and I just catch that. I found it works pretty good. I can get any burrs off of there and just work my way around. I can get this other side, but you know, sandpaper works fine too. So use whatever works best for you. Okay, so now I'll take a little rubbing alcohol. You could use soap and water, and I spray it on a rag, and I'm just cleaning this surface in here, because we're going to stick rim tape up to the edge of this, but not above, kind of just in the groove. And we want a clean surface for that rim tape to stick to. We just don't want any debris in there, so go ahead and do that. Like I said, you could use anything you want to clean this, but just get that cleaned up. This is a new rim, but if it weren't, I'd spend a little more time cleaning this. So use your judgment, and then we'll get it dry. I need to do this, but I just like to paint this exposed metal where I drilled into the rim. You don't need to do that. This isn't gonna cause any problems if I don't do that. The instructions don't say to do this, but I don't know. It's just what I'm doing. I created kind of a rough edge, well, not a rough edge, but a new hole. And if you have some black paint and you feel like it, touch it up. And if you don't have to. Move on. Okay, so this comes with what you need. The TuBliss system comes with good instructions. You can go to their website, and there's videos too. And it comes with some stickers and this thing for the tires. So it really comes with some good instructions. And if you follow the instructions, I think you'll find it'll go pretty well. So the next step is we're going to put the rim tape on. We've cleaned our wheel, and there's a plug in here. There's a plug if we need to plug a hole that we're not going to use, but we're using the 2 holes on my wheel that are there. We just had to drill one out. So now let's put our rim tape on. And the instructions talk about putting it in the crown of the wheel. So we're going to be putting it, I'll show you over here. We're going to be putting this tape up to the edge here, but not up to this flat part, but up to this rounded part. Our first wrap will go down the center. The second wrap will go up to this edge, and our third wrap will go up to this edge, but not onto this surface. So with this rim tape, we're gonna go the first one down the middle of this wheel. And then the second one, we're gonna go out to the edge, or you could go out to the other edge, but not just below the shoulder. So again, not up into where a tire spoon would hit or where the tire needs to go, just up in the curve. So we're gonna stay on the curve part, up to the shoulder, and then we're gonna go over to the other side. We're gonna go over to this other side. So one down the middle, one up to one shoulder, and one up to the other shoulder, and then you're done. And then we'll cut out our holes for our rim lock and for our high and low pressure valve stems. We're gonna put our first pass down the middle. You don't stretch the tape. The instructions say not to stretch the tape. I'm gonna start at one of my holes, the hole I drilled out. That just, I don't know, might be a nice natural place for me to start. So I'm gonna start there, right down the middle. And I'm using a bucket to spin this on. It's just something that won't damage the wheel. And again, I'm not stretching this. I'm pulling this out, but then I'm letting it rebound. And we're staying between both shoulders, straight down the middle for our first pass. This is pass number 1, right down the middle. Right down the middle of your wheel. And this is just to keep your spokes from damaging the bladder that pushes against, not the bladder, but the thing the bladder, inner tube, high pressure tube pushes against your tire. Okay, so there's one wrap, okay? So I'm back to where I started. Now I'm gonna go, my second wrap, I'm gonna go out to this shoulder out here, with shoulder being just below where, you go where it's curved, but you stop before it's flat. So this is where I struggle a little bit, trying to, because you're arcing continually, and you don't need to be crazy perfectionist about this, but you do need to do your best to stay just off the shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to do my second wrap around there. When I get back, then I'll go do my third wrap out here. So I'm just going to complete this now. So here I am. Here's my first pass here down the middle. And my second pass, I went out to this edge over here. Now I'm coming up on where I started for my second pass, and now I'm getting ready to do my third pass. So I'm going to cut over to this side, up to this shoulder. So here I am crossing over, and now I'm going to start that on this side, just like that. So there I am going along this shoulder here. This, for whatever reason, is is the trickiest part to me because you don't have a really a line to follow other than just the shoulder, and you're constantly arcing. So I just kind of take my time and do little bits at a time, and you know, if I get it off, I pull it back up and put it back up to that shoulder, and I just work it. I use a headlamp, and you can see I'm using reading glasses just because it's hard to see on this black wheel where that curve is, but you just take your time and it's not bad. And then when I get her back around to where I started, I'll just cut this tape, smooth it down, and we're done. We're almost done with this. First pass down the middle, second pass over here, third pass off to the edge. So when I get up to here, then we're just gonna cut this off, and that'll be done. You don't need to like double this stuff up. So when I get up here on this third pass, I'm just going to cut that off, and then I'm just going to go around and smooth this all down, make sure it's smoothed down really well. And this plastic bucket does work good. And I'll do a video on what I think of my first ride because I'm a skeptic. I'm excited. I think this is going to work great. So many guys, like Matt from the Dirtbike channel and a few other guys that run this, seems to really like it. It does seem to be a little more maintenance because you got to check your inner high pressure bladder every time. And I've had good luck with TuBliss where I check my air. It just doesn't change a whole lot. But this is just, you know, a little more maintenance. But for what you would gain, you know, I think it'd be worth it for the traction. Okay, so that's all smoothed out. Now it's just a matter of finding these with the box knife and cutting out where your valve stems are going to go and your rim lock. So I'm going to cut this out. And I don't think you have to be too perfect with this. It's not a sealing surface. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I have my other one over here. And I'm going to cut that one out. And then I'll clean up those holes a little bit, just kind of with this box knife. And again, you just need to get this cut off to where you can get through. I don't think it needs to be perfect. Don't cut yourself. And we'll get both these holes cleaned up. I'll be back in a little bit, and we'll do the next step. Okay, you can see where I got both these holes cleaned up, that one and that one. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good. And now we're ready for the next step. So next we're going to remove the valve cores from the high and low pressure systems. This is a low pressure system and also serves as somewhat of a rim lock. But the whole tube eventually serves as a rim lock. And then we'll remove the high pressure valve core. Now this nut is going to go just as it is inside the rim, but you'll take this one off for now. And we'll also take this other one off for now as well, this other nut on the low pressure side. This will come out, and then we're going to remove this rim lock in both sides. And then rim lock nut, and then the valve core here, and the valve core here. And then we'll get this clocked with our wheel so that everything, all the inner bladder lines up with the rim lock on the wheel. So nothing to it, just removing the valve core here, just like you would on any other bicycle tube or motorcycle tube. Just like a 10-speed high pressure tube. Okay, next we're going to get these two holes lined up to get these two clocked. Actually, these are, I think they're really close right now. And to do that, generally, you know, pull this outside of the this liner. So we're going to pull this tube out, and we're going to squirt this thing down really well with Armor All. Make it really slick. Really, the outside is what we're shooting for. But I'm going to get the whole thing slick. Just don't be shy with it. Use as much as you want. Just really going to make it slick. Okay, then we're going to take this and we're going to line this up with our 11mm hole or bigger hole, and then we're going to kind of clock this so that this all lines up with our high pressure side, which is this inner bladder. And I'm going to put this kind of tucks around here. Just kind of, it's really easy how that goes in there. And then you just kind of put that there. And that tube's going to be lined up about there. We want this straight. So there, I'm going to move this over a little bit more. Like that. I'm going to retest it. Put this in here until we get this fairly straight. There, actually that looks good. So, great. And then I'm going to put this rim lock nut just finger tight on, is what the instructions say. So I'll put that on finger tight. You don't take a wrench to that. That's really slick with Armor All, so I'm just going to tighten that down. And then I'll put the little nut on here just like halfway. And then we'll put this on the rest of the way. And we'll make sure this tube is tucked up in this this liner here. So we're going to do that now. We're going to tuck that tube back in there like that. And put this nut on halfway, and then we'll put this on. I just put this nut on here, just loosely, and then we have this on finger tight, is what the instructions say. That's so slick. There we go. Okay, then we got this slicked up with Armor All. I'm going to hit that one more time. Get that really slick. And then they say you can push this on without spoons, but I usually have to use some. And I'm just kind of going around like that. It's really slick. And I do like to use a couple spoons on this to get this on. That's just what I do. Oh, my spoons are coated in Armor All. Everything's so slippery right now. This is ridiculous. But so I'm just gonna lightly hold this on here. I might even use a bead buddy because this is so slick. You don't need a bead buddy. You could just hold this on here. But it's so this is so slippery. I used a lot of Armor All. I'm just gonna stick this down here to help myself, give myself an extra hand. You don't need to use that. They say you can push this on, but I'm just not skilled enough. But you shouldn't need to use a lot of force because you don't want to damage this. If you damage it, it's never going to seal. And so I'm just going to push this on. And then I'm just going to slip a tire iron up in here. And just lightly push that on. If you have to use a lot of force, you're doing something wrong. So you don't want to damage anything. And then I'm just gonna sneak this up in here, and I'm pushing this, squeezing this down to the drop center as I go. And I'm not using a lot of force, little bites. And I've almost got this. This is down in the center over here. I'm pinching that to make sure that's down in the center of the rim, and it is. And then I'm just going to take, it looks like I'll just need one other try here, and I'll have this on. And again, I'm not using a lot of force here, just little bites. They say, there we go, just like that. And struggling a little bit, I haven't scratched the rim yet. Maybe I can push this on without using a tire iron. Let's see. Super slick. I'm going to see if I can grab it with a towel and push it over rather than use a tire iron. Yep, that worked fine. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now they give you this little device, and you're going to put it on with this curvature to the back. So it's like so. Make sure you have your direction of rotation figured out. This has the rotor on this side, so this wheel's rotating this way. So my arrow of rotation is going that way, so I got that all figured out. And then you're just gonna kind of sit on the tire and kind of squat that down, drop that in there, and we're keeping downward pressure on the wheel. I wasn't sure how this worked. We're just trying to spoon this bead on the other side. Please. That's it. Oh, I didn't even have to do any spooning. Well, I guess for the sake of this video, normally you would have this like so, and then you would need to kind of, pull this over. So normally you'd get this on, and then you would kind of spoon your way, here and here and here and here until you got this all the way
in there, but this goes in so easy that it was a piece of cake. But you would just kind of push this around, and work your way up, and this around, this around, this, and then it would drop inside. Now we remove this tool, and now we're just gonna put this, you know, in here just like any other tire. I'm gonna go to my tire stand.
Putting that tire on went way easy. I did a gummy tire and it was a little harder, but this shows basically the steps. You put the tire in and push down, and then you just kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it'll pop on. But I just thought I'd follow up with that because the tire went in so easy that it probably wasn't the best example. Even when I did it again, it fell right in. I'm using a golden tire and it just dropped right in. But basically, you're just wanting to get the tire in, you know, between the two beads of the tire, not the bead set or anything, just, you know, around the rim. So I'm just using Armor All. I'm gonna wet down this red liner deal. I'm gonna get this all wet in here, and lots of Armor All. I found that this works so good I didn't even need to use soapy water on my other ones, but the instructions say to use soapy water when you inflate it, which is probably a good idea. And I'm using this Armor All instead of my normal Yamaha tire mounting lubricant. Sometimes I use this when I mount tires, you just spray it on, but I'm just gonna use Armor All today. Okay, so we're just gonna start spooning this tire on. I'm gonna put the rim lock opposite us over here. I gotta actually have that loosened up. And we're just gonna start putting this on. And really, nothing to it. I just kind of get it up here and push it in to the drop center of the rim, and then I'm gonna start putting this tire on. You wanna be good to the bead because this bead has to seal up against that red bladder thing. I'm just gonna be just very gentle and working that on. There we go, pushing it on. I'm gonna put a bead buddy here just to help hold it on. I don't know that I need to, but I just like these things. They give me another hand when I don't have one. So I'm just gonna stick that there. And then I'm just gonna work this around. Come this way a little bit, work it down. This way a little bit, work it down. Come this way a little bit, work it down. I'm being careful not to hit the red bladder. Use a Motion Pro tire levers, just taking shallow bites and little ones. I don't want to hurt the tire. If you hurt the tire, it won't seal right. And so I'm just gonna get this up in here. And I'm not grabbing the red liner on the inside, taking real shallow bites. And then I'm just gonna keep moving this over. I'm just gonna push it down and then bring it over, work it down. I'm just gonna work this along here, just nice and easy. Things are tightening up. Actually, I want to finish on the rim lock, so I'm gonna work on this over here a little bit. Just right there, just nice and easy. We are so close. Back in the drop center over here, that's good. Don't really need this bead buddy in anymore. I'm just gonna sneak this guy up in here, lift up on the tire, and I'm just gonna be real gentle, work this over. You don't wanna rip your inner part of your tire or anything. And that went right on. Really easy. And this rim lock tube thing kind of still pushes in. Okay, now we're just gonna flip this over and do the other side and do the same thing on this side. And I'm gonna work, do the bead lock last. Okay, so I'm gonna start from this side, bead lock over here, put this in and work our way that way. And you could use Armor All on here. I'm going to use a little Armor All again, spray it on that red thing on the inside so that that's all ready to go when we inflate it. Armor All on this here. I just keep everything real wet with Armor All. It seems to work pretty good. Get some on that red liner on the inside. There we go. Okay, so we're just working this last little bit. Trying to finish where the rim lock is. You don't need to use a lot of force on this, just take little bites. Just little bites. Just little bites. Move this over here. I don't want to damage this, and I can go down, move it over a little bit, go down, move it over a little bit. And actually, I'm going to try just pushing this over the edge. It's so close. There it went. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we got both sides on. I did spray that up really good with Armor All as I was going along, or you could use soapy water. My previous ones, I just used Armor All, so you could, if you weren't being very good with using Armor All, you could, you know, put this down and squirt a little in there and go around the tire again. See how I'm squirting it in the bead here? I can kind of push it down and get it in here, also where that red liner is, or you could use soapy water. And I did this pretty good before I put the tire on. And again, the directions do use, say you could use soapy water. Okay, and we're just going around, getting that in there. Okay, and there we go. And I got that pretty wetted up. So the next thing we're gonna do is, I got this threaded down. So we're putting our high pressure valve stem in. Make sure there isn't any dust or particles on there. Putting the low pressure side in. And get those in nice and snug. You don't need to go crazy, but you don't want them loose either, because that can be a leak point, especially on the high pressure side. Okay, now we'll go ahead and fill up that high pressure side. And we'll pump that up to 120 pounds. This is a low volume, high pressure pump, and there isn't a lot of volume to that tube, so it works very well. Be a good thing to keep in your vehicle. Okay, high pressure side is pumped up. Now I'm going to go ahead and put air in the low pressure side. And stop. Okay, so now I just use this on the low pressure side. It doesn't take much. And we want to pop this bead out on both sides, so I might take it up to like 30 pounds or something. It's holding air. This is the way all of mine went. This is my third tire, and they always just this easy. And you'll see Armor All and stuff squirting out. That's fine. Just wipe it with a rag. I'm going to take it up to 30 pounds just to make sure this bead sets. Then we'll tighten down the rim lock. Okay, there is 30 pounds, and I'll tell you what, every one of these things I've done has been this easy. I just set the high pressure side, I use lots of Armor All, and it inflates right up. Now, you can put some stand stuff in the low pressure side, tube sealant. You can do that while you're assembling the tire. I went ahead and put that in case I get a puncture, it will seal a little bit. I haven't on this tire yet, but you certainly can do that. That way if you get a puncture on the trail, maybe it'll have a shot at self-sealing a little bit. So let's flip it over. Let's make sure the bead's set over here. And it's perfect. And we are not losing a bit of air. And now all we need to do is tighten down this rim lock. There's a torque setting on there, but I just tighten it to where it's snug and it isn't coming loose. Don't go crazy tight with it. Wipe down excess Armor All. And yeah, this just inflated right up. And so the benefit of this is it's going to enable you to run lower tire pressure, not get pinch flats. And I'm excited. I'm going to post a video of one of my rides with it and let you know what I think. And so we're about there. It gets to a point to where it just kind of starts to get tight and bottoms out a little bit, and I just stop. Doesn't need to be crazy tight. But yeah, right there, it's just kind of stopping. So that's it. Now we'll just put the blue valve cap on the valve stem cap on the low pressure side, which is the rim lock one, and the high pressure side is the red one. And just a special note on that. Low pressure side here. Okay, and high pressure side here. And so we're going to tighten this little nut back up against the valve cap so that it helps lock it on there, not against the rim. And that's it. There you have it. Holding air mounted. Just need to get a rotor on this and some things, and it'll be ready to go. I've heard with the Golden tires on the front, 12 pounds is a good PSI because these are kind of a softer tire. But on rear tires you can go a little lower. But there you have it. I'm really impressed with this system, how easy it is to install. This is my third one that I've done, and the first two sealed up great. I did have a slow leak on the front after I assembled it, but I think I had a little rubber nubbin, and so I just let the air out, kind of put my finger around in there, swiped it, and then I filled it up really, really good with some Armor All, and it's sealed. You know, you could use stands in the low pressure side, TuBliss sealant, to give this a coating to something that could help you seal. Now you can plug it on the trail and you know, run lower PSI. So there you have it. My third TuBliss install. So I just wanted to show you that somebody who hadn't done this, it's pretty easy to do. I've never, this is, you know, just my third tire, and you saw it aired right up, and that's the way it always goes. I think it's easier than tubes. I was worried it would be harder. The only thing that's left in my mind is with riding, if, you know, having now 4 chambers to work with and maintain before a ride, it seems like a little more work than 2. So, you know, we'll see what we think of that. But I will post a review of my first ride, what I think, and like and subscribe if you want to see if a tube person who's used to using tried and true heavy duty tubes can be swayed to run mainly tubeless on off-road conditions. All right, well, thanks for watching. In the comments, please feel free to let me know if there's things that I could do to make this easier for you guys. What you think of your tubeless, or if you're in the tubes camp. Let's all learn from each other here. The Armor All tip was cool. I had never assembled a tire with mainly Armor All, and it worked super good. So that was something new for me. All right, well, have a great day. Keep riding. Get out there, burn some tires up, get some two-wheel therapy, and just get out there and live life. Life is good. Take care. There is a reset procedure that if you aired this up and it was leaking, you can let the air out of both sides, squirt soapy water in there, break the bead a little bit, squirt soapy water on both sides, and then you can kind of take this out with the soapy water and bounce it. Go around the tire bouncing it like this with that water, or you could use Armor All, and go around the tire. Then you reinflate the high pressure chamber and then the low pressure chamber. I didn't have to use that. This is my third tire, and I haven't had to do that. But if you did, that's the way that you would do that. And it's normal to have a little bit of stuff leaking out after you Armor All after you inflate the tire, because everything's getting pressured up. But yeah, I mean, there you have it. That's the reset procedure. Good luck. Just a quick note, I'll record the inflation pressure of this tire on the low pressure side for a few days, just to make sure it's holding air pretty consistently. And if it was losing air at a pretty fast rate, I would find out where that leak was. And you do want to check the pressure in the high pressure side, because it'll lose a little bit every day just from permeability of the the tube at that high pressure. And then you want to check that low pressure side before you ride too. So just a little tip there, make sure you check your inflation pressures before every ride. Another benefit of TuBliss would be they're a little lighter weight, a little less weight than tubes, and depending on what you're riding, it could be a lot less weight. So that's just something to think about as a kind of a pro and con there. Another pro would be you can plug them on the trail side if you needed to. Just use a plug or kind of those ropes. Just a word on tire pressures and sidewall stiffness of the carcass. So Golden tires kind of more flexible, so you use more pressure. Many people say 10, 12 to make it for the flexible carcass. Whereas if you had a stiffer sidewall, a harder carcass on a different tire, then you could use less air pressure, which makes sense. So it sounds like some experimentation is needed. You guys can chime in, tell me what you found, what pressures work good for you with different tires. Also, just a note is installing the TuBliss system works best with new tires. If you take off a relatively new tire, I think you can do it. But it's interesting. It actually seals on the inside surface of the tire. So when you're putting the tire on, you have to be careful so you don't damage the inside of the tire. When I did my first installation on one of my front tires, when I was doing that last little bit, I kind of was getting close to, I wouldn't say tearing the tire, but I didn't tear, but it was close. So if you damage that and you're trying to do tubeless, then that could be it. You're gonna, stick a tube in that tire or you're all done. So just, I guess something I want to point out is just use a little more caution when you're installing tubeless tires on how you're treating those tires, that bead. One last point is you don't need to do this, but I like the idea of running tubeless and having the shot at this tire sealing itself when and if I do get a puncture. But I am carrying CO2 cartridges and some little slime, tubeless patch kit or tire repair kit in my backpack now. So I can, if I lose air, I can patch it and pull a puncture out. If there's something in it, pull it out and repair it. But I did fill this with 6 to 8 ounces of Stan's tire sealant. I know there's other things you can use, and you guys chime in about that too. I just put it into the low pressure side, so it goes into the tire, not the high pressure tube. I didn't put it in there. I wanted it to be in the carcass of the tire. And you just have this injector. You let the air out, take the valve core out, and you can just literally inject that in. And if you put it with this on the, with this down, it actually just trickles in as you pour it in. And I use 6 to 8 ounces, or excuse me, I put about 4 ounces in, but I think there should be more. But feel free to chime in on that. I think it's supposed to be more like 6 to 8 ounces, but I just started with, I think, around 4 to 5 ounces in this front tire.
And that way, if it does get a puncture, maybe it'll seal, have a shot at sealing. So anyway, that's something you can do, but you don't have to do. That's one of the reasons I use Armor All instead of soapy water, because I've heard if you use soapy water that this doesn't work as well. So anyway, there's my experience so far. Easy to put on, easy to get them to, my experience, to hold air. You just got to be careful with how you're putting that tire on.